Bobby, just give me, I got some thoughts here, but give me your opening thoughts, just big picture on the game.
So what I loved about this game, while I call it a great game, even though you'll probably have some issues with that, is that not only did Jaylen Brown turn around what was going to be a lackluster 11, 13-point game after brutal shooting struggles early in this one to push that 10-0 run and scored 3 buckets during that stretch. And that closing vicious dunk, it ultimately wasn't the close of the Warriors went on one more run after that, but effectively you felt good about this being a done deal at 10 points when he slammed that down on our friend Juan Toscano's head. We're going to try to differentiate him from someone on the show tonight.
Yeah.
But also Kemba Walker, who went on a 1-9 stretch through the middle of this one, came in for closing time after not playing quite a bit of that second half, and worked through his struggles too to get Brown going on a great offensive rebound in traffic and hit a big 3 during that stretch to close the game as well. So it wasn't the best night for either one of them, but they worked through it. And I didn't think Brad Stevens had the best night either. I hated the starting lineup. I didn't like the rotations throughout much of it, but he finds Grant Williams some minutes, which I wanted to see tonight, and then they close with him.
That's what I want to. My first thought is actually it was almost like a Stevens FU game, and I'll explain why later. But let's get into Kemba a little bit, because this started out to me as like the Kemba Walker is starting to find his rhythm game, and he was hitting shots early, and then he just went ice cold again. And it's just like, so again, you're kind of stuck in that in-between range with Kemba, where in the early going again, he looked quick again, and he looked, he had some juice, but that shot's got to fall. And it was early. And I even tweeted and we were talking about it like, okay, this is good. This is what you want to see. And then, like you said, just dead ice cold. And if he's shooting such a low percentage, it's not helping. So I'm glad he was able to kind of overcome it. But again, these box scores, these lines, these 6 of 18s, and again, he acquitted himself fine on defense, drew 1 charge, possibly another. He was fine, but he's just got to, just more of these shots have to drop, especially the ones that are open. And this wasn't an overly big team. He did still struggle every time he tried to get to the basket on him, either throwing up something that was, please don't block this, levels of creative that it wasn't a high percentage look at the rim, or just, or got blocked or just couldn't get there. So he's still struggling, in tight. And this isn't a particularly large Golden State team, and they also lost somebody during the game. So that's still a bit of a concern for me with Kemba. You want to see one of those nights where it flows the whole game long. We still haven't really, not going to say we still haven't seen it, but we haven't seen peak Kemba anywhere close yet.
Nothing about his return's been linear. It started slow, then he got hot in that
couple games in the middle
for a little bit, and then right back down. So it's been inconsistent from him. That's effectively how you would draw it up. I was concerned, too, about the finishing. We talked about that last postseason during some of his worst stretches. He gets swallowed up inside by bigs, and to see that happen against the likes of Kevon Looney and Juan Toscano when he moved to center and the help coming from the wings, not great. That's not exactly Bam Adebayo and Joel Embiid on the other side there protecting the rim. And it didn't feel like he got a bucket to go at the rim all game long. So I was concerned about that aspect of his play, but the inefficiency I'm not as much, because right now with Marcus Smart out, Jaylen Brown struggling on a night like tonight for much of this game, and the bench giving you effectively nothing in terms of scoring unless Grant can go out for a few threes as he did tonight. You got to get points where you can, and even if it's not the most efficient points in the game, to have a guy who can hit 20 points, whether it's 6 of 18 or 9 of 18, you got to take it at this point and just grind out some victories. And even tonight, I think we'll have more than a handful of gripes with this game. To get a win here on this road trip period, especially against the Golden State team that went out of 3 out of 4 coming in, was playing pretty good defense in recent weeks as well. It's great. This is a tough place to play, no matter what Warriors team you're running into. And Curry was every bit his MVP self tonight, and he gave it a run right until the final moments. So for Kemba Walker to be that counter effectively and play a few good possessions of defense down the stretch there against Curry too, especially that last one. I know they were up 4 and it didn't matter all that much, but he got the initial stop. He kicked the rebound out and killed about 8 seconds there. And by the time Curry shot it again, the buzzer was sounding. So I liked his defense. I liked his activity on the boards, positioning, all that kind of stuff down the stretch. Kemba does so many things beyond scoring to me, not at an elite level, but at a pretty high level. The pick and roll passing. Defensively, he's not great, but he's always in position to me. These are things that make his presence a gift, even when he's not at himself scoring wise.
Yeah. And it's better to have Kemba than to not have Kemba. There was a discussion during the game tonight, and this is just what we're talking about. And yes, Lean Lantern, only 2 guys tonight. We apologize. We also apologize anybody in the stream wondering
why. I'm going to delete that other stream.
I just deleted both of them. Why there was one in a waiting room. That was our technical difficulties. Sorry, guys, about that. So they made that point on the broadcast, Bobby. And again, these national broadcasts just friggin' kill me. But
I heard this one wasn't bad tonight.
It wasn't as bad. It wasn't as bad, but it's still kind of like we know nothing about these teams really, so we're going to speak in generalities. But one thing you're talking about, they're just talking about big threes, and obviously coming off the Brooklyn game, which anybody who watched it leading into the Celtics tonight, super impressive watching that team close down the stretch. It was just basically, okay, which MVP candidate wants to take the shot and just put a dagger in another championship team's heart tonight? And that's what happened. And Kyrie was ridiculous. Durant only took 13 shots, which was interesting. It's always going to be a weird, my ball, your ball sort of situation there. But when it works, like tonight, you're always going to talk about, okay, who can compete with that? And everybody, the Clippers side, Paul George had comments after the game like, as far as individual players go, I just don't know what you're going to do with these 3 guys over here. So you start talking about superstars win leagues, and they're questioning, okay, well, the Celtics have 2, but do they have 3? And there was hesitation. Well, I don't know about Kemba. I don't know if he's there yet. And that's the thing is, if they're going to get to that next level, you need Kemba at a higher level or a better supporting cast around Tatum and Brown. We've talked about this all year, and I was the theme of our last game. Even in a loss, Tatum and Brown are here. They have arrived on the scene. And I think a lot of Celtics media picked up on this too. We've been talking about this the whole time, Bobby. They are championship ready now, these guys, okay? It's not 2 years from now. Now they're ready to go. If you had the right players around them, these 2 guys could get you there. But you want Kemba to be part of that little trio there as opposed to a supporting cast member. So the reason we're hard on him is the expectation level is really high, not that he's not providing value.
Yeah, and it's that everlasting question of who's going to get more shots between him and Jaylen Brown on any given night. Right. You did see Jaylen Brown playing off him a little bit in the early stretches of this one, trying to get going, trying to find himself in the offense. And I don't think there's a division there per se or a divisiveness between those 2 on the offensive end of the floor that's disrupting things all that much. It's just both of them are guys who need to see their shot falling and get in some flow and rhythm. And if one guy, as Kemba was early tonight, is getting a lot of those early looks and Brown can't get a few to go early on in these games, that's always going to be a hard one to flesh out. And I still don't see the things from Kemba when it comes to off-ball movement, getting open for catch-and-shoot looks. It's just not there.
And it's not there, but also it's really going to be hurt, Bobby, when you don't have your best playmaker. And they're without Smart here, and he's really the guy who's going to help distribute the ball there. There's really nobody else to do that right now. So that's
and you saw they missed that throughout stretches of
desperately. A lot of ISO, a lot of just give me the ball and shoot. Not a lot of working the ball around. It was not a great. Was not a great game as far as that's concerned.
Especially some of those Brown-led bench units.
Yeah,
I've seen those lag a little bit behind Tatum's led bench units, and obviously we love the Tatum-led bench units this year. He's able to just carry those collectives for stretches throughout these games. Brown, not as much, and he's a great creator for himself off the dribble. But when it comes to finding traffic and putting guys on his back and finding the corners and all that stuff, he's still not quite
That's
there.
Where Tatum is clearly superior. Yeah. And I might even say in terms of team defense too, I think with Tatum. But the playmaking is still absolutely an area where Tatum has an edge, and he's able to pass out of those double teams. He's still got to recognize it a little bit quicker, but you're right. He's able to whip the ball around to the open shooter when they're there. And that when you spell, Tatum for Brown in that unit, it suffers. You will get Pritchard back, which is going to be actually a huge help. possibly tomorrow. We can talk about that a little bit when we look ahead to tomorrow night. That'll help because you're not going to watch Teague dribbling the ball off his knees anymore. He didn't play horribly, but he's Jeff Teague. He made a couple of shots, but he's not fun to watch out there.
His success early was a product of the Warriors' pretty dreadful defense in the first quarter as well. This game looked like it was rocketing toward the 120s, 130s in that first quarter when neither team was getting stops. Curry went for 17.
So many easy buckets too. Celtics defense in that first quarter was awful. And again, you talk about that starting lineup, Bobby. It's again, I know Smart is out. Brad went double big, and man, the closeouts were non-existent. The amount of layups and
two open threes for Curry.
You saw the best part about that was Brad. Before he released the shot, Brad was 3 steps onto the court. 3 steps onto the court, ready to call timeout. He was so mad about that one. Already, he was like, "What are you guys doing?" Curry, again, they left him open a ton. That first quarter was terrible. And then the second quarter, while Curry again was on the bench, Golden State had 5 points through 7 minutes until Curry really came back in there. Again, Celtics, I felt, had a couple of stretches where if they were able to get better shots it was one of those uneven games. When they were getting stops, they couldn't get the buckets to really distance themselves. When they were scoring, they weren't getting stops. So it was always Golden State was at arm's length. Even late when they went on that run, they did everything possible to let the Warriors back into the game.
And the Warriors aren't that impressive of a team. They're
not. It's Curry and then a whole bunch of blah.